Good morning. Today we're going to take a look at XRP, some historic price actions, and how we're doing this quick trade and why we decided to de-risk at this level. All right, so jumping into XRP, the down bet play right now, or at least the idea of it, is that we would see a 5-wave move down, an ABC up, and then another 5-wave move down with the final 5th leg stopping somewhere in this region here, okay? Probably like right here at the 886. So that's the anticipation. Well, why did we get this? Well, we have one other. The basic reason was that we had the economic news that came in on Thursday that smacked the price down. And in doing so, this creates this question of, are we getting ready to break down or not? Now, what's interesting is on this chart, we have a higher low shown right here on this level, okay? But the higher low itself is not necessarily accurate. So we'll get back into this in just a few moments. But this is basically the premise. So de-risking into this area, seeing if we break out and start moving above this prior high is the trade that we're watching. And then if we don't, and we end up staying and setting a lower high, we roll over and we can then reaccumulate our XRPs down in this region and get more of them. So now there is a bullish count still. Okay, so here's your, this no longer becomes a 5-wave move to the downside. And instead we have a complex WXY. So we end up doing a WXY, okay? And this then results in a larger expanding wedge pattern that X-Force has been so kind as to show us. And so thank you, Mr. X-Force. So we've got an ABC down move that happens here, the higher low, and then that ABC move can actually work out where we bounce up, down, and up to the top of the range for a larger zigzag wave one before we cool off and continue higher. So this is the bullish count, but right now we're de-risking because if we start exceeding this area and then getting this high, we re-long and we just play these levels for then an accumulation thereafter. Or if we're right, we've exited and then we can reaccumulate down here for the larger play. So the good news is in both scenarios, we end up having a good circumstance. So for example, when we go into the up move play that we have here, we end up then doing a ABC back down into the demand, and then we head off, okay? Alternatively, if we do the down move, then we go, we continue our ABC down leg, and then we head here, and then we're off. So in either scenario, we're going the same way, which is ultimately up. The question is, we're going to go this way or that way first, and then up. And so that's what we're hanging out, just kind of watching, seeing what price action looks like to try to give us the opportunity, and again, an attempt to get more XRPs. Now, if we do break out, I'll take a loss on not having as many XRPs. Exit, re-enter, and I should be able to recoup all my XRPs. Or we head down, and I get my more XRPs, and then I go this way. So either way, I will be okay. So that's the thought process behind these two trades and what we're doing here. So now let's zoom in on the short-term time frame, okay, and kind of take a look at what we're seeing on perspective here. So in this region here, we have a higher high that was set, okay, right here. We did it with what appears to be a larger ABC structure at this point in time, okay, and then we wicked down this direction, came back up and set a lower high right here, which ultimately could result in a breakdown to the downside, okay? Also in this region here, our rejections came back up and hit the 786, as you can see right here, of this local move. And we were also fighting against this VWAP's positive 2 deviations, but we couldn't even get there this last time, okay? So ultimately, this results in that in this scenario, it is likely that we are going to reject from here and head back down. And then if we lose this low, then it's official. We're heading lower, okay? Now, people will say, well, we ended up over here setting a higher low, right? We didn't actually cross below this, so this could be bullish and break to the upside. And I agree, that's our question mark that we're trying to answer. But I challenge you to look at this chart. So this is the, sorry for white mode, everybody, but this is our XRP market cap chart rather than the USD pairing. This is just the actual market cap. And this is very subtle, but this is what I saw here yesterday. And what we ended up having is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave downside move on the market cap, okay? not the price, but the market cap. And that's because the dollar flopped around. And this would actually be conducive an impulsive wave 1, an ABC back up, and then a wave 1, wave 2 of the larger degree breakdown. So this is the question mark. We'll see if this is what's ultimately making the change and why we didn't see the lower low right here, because here's where it is on this price. So that's what we'll be watching and monitoring, and that may be a really great indicator in the future that we use that market cap for the wave count to give us a better idea of what we're doing if we break down, of course, because this would say otherwise, that this is in fact not breaking down and we're going to end up doing the larger A, B, C to the upside and close the volume gap to the upside. Okay, so that's the logic. That's what we're doing. That's why we're doing it. Now let's talk about the down scenario and what that would look like time-wise. Okay, so we have this time interval, and if we were to take the top of the range and we go down to the bottom of the range here and we measure this and we end up getting this, it's 16 days. Okay, that's great. So notice how it chopped and then it broke down. Well, and we chopped and then we broke down. So the question will be then, if we did the same exact thing here, then we would actually be done by August 25th or 23rd. And so August 23rd may be our date where we are already down here reaccumulating, and that could be very, very soon, and that would line up with a lot of the economic data that we're seeing next week. So we break down, de-risk, then everyone's like, Powell actually comes out on the Friday of the 22nd, I believe. Let me check here. He comes out and he talks on the 22nd, yes, so the day before. So we tank down, he says good things, woo, market goes, right? So almost like a precursor to what we're going to get in the Fed meeting on September 17th over here. So anyway, so that's the idea of this down bet move. Now I do want to do one more thing for you, just to show why I am leaning towards this down bet move at this point in time. And the reason for that is when we flip the chart inverted. So when we look at this inverted, it changes your perspective and your bias, right? So if I was looking at this, I would see a 5-wave move to the downside, okay, impulsive. Then we see a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-wave move very clearly up, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then we have an ABC breakdown. And then from here, we have a wave 1, which was done with a rising wedge, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, an ABC back down again. And then we have a breakout and back test bull flag with an ABC and a higher low set on top of this larger fib move that we measured for the overall area. I mean, look at that, right on top of it, right? So that would make me think that this is now going to be an impulsive breakout for a corrective leg for a larger ABC. So we would end up doing an A, B, and C leg to here. Then ultimately this is a bear flag and this rolls over and heads lower. And when we head lower, we're like, oh no, it's so bad. But really what we're looking at is as we break down and head lower, we flip it back positive and voila. That looks great, right? So now we're looking really positive and happy. So that's the point of flipping it, is to give you the idea and the perspective that this is actually going to be very bullish. And again, this is a great opportunity to de-risk, watch the market, and then be able to reaccumulate if we get this. And so ironically, you're like, yay, I really want XRP to go down, and it changes your tune. So now one interesting thing to do as well is look at this VWAP, okay? So I put a variable weighted asset price from way back here and shown that it actually is aligning and pointing right now for the fair market value right at 252, which matches our measured fib move. So all checking. Okay, great. So I'm sorry for the super crazy technical video today, but hopefully this is helpful, but there's more. All right, so recapping. Basically, I'm de-risking to see if we can play this to get more XRP, okay? We do see that on the market cap, we have a 5-wave move to the downside, which would mean that we're probably going to break down. Now, let's jump over to the heat map. So the heat map shows us that here on the 48-hour, we actually have a ton of liquidity down here on the short side and not as much to the upside on the 48-hour price action from since we've been doing this for the last 2 days or this weekend. We jump over to the 3-day. 3-day, I believe, is giving us a similar picture. That, yep, the majority of the volume is way down here, so sweeping it and dropping down and taking all this out is more likely at this point in my mind versus grinding up, specifically if we lose some price action. So we'll see how that plays ultimately. Now, what's that going to do for our cryptocurrencies? Well, our meme coins. Well, here's Sigma, right? So as this kind of chop and everything's been happening, everybody's just kind of done with the overall meme market, right? So some positive things to look at here is when we look at Sigma's price action, we can see that we are still holding well above this 886 level, okay? And historically, if we're the only coin that hasn't hit this yet, so I'm almost kind of thinking that we might come down into this region, hit it, and bounce, right? And that would time perfectly with XRP's pullback, and then we break out of it. Now, the good news is that's our shorter path. So what I did is I went to XRP, this Cardano coin here, and I wanted to show you that Cardano ended up having the same thing where it had this massive pull down right before setting a new low. It did go into this demand area and then it just shot off, okay? Note that Cardano, when measuring this on the linear scale, just like I'm doing with Sigma, actually fell below the 886, okay? And that's, I mean, obviously it's a utility coin, blah, 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 but it actually went and fell below the 886 way down here and then was still able to reclaim and take back a huge move after this bounce, okay? And if you look at that, that looks very similar to what we're seeing right now on Sigma, okay? So there's the two coins overlapping, right? Distribution, bounce, breakdown, distribution, bounce, breakdown. Okay, so if we do collapse, that's actually a really positive thing, and I shouldn't say collapse. If we do hit the 886, I mean, that's a huge target for most people, and I'm going to be buying more Sigma right down there because, I mean, the upside potential is huge. Just a return to the prior all-time high is a 580% return, right? And that's basically what Cardano was able to do quickly, and then it continued on afterwards. So you have that kind of, you know, scenario where this is very likely that these returns are able to happen here, especially if we're just going to do one more pullback on XRP. That will probably be the driver to get down to that level. Now you say, okay, well, poor Sigma, right? Nobody wants Sigma. Well, remember, well, right now nobody wants anything XRP related. So the narrative is not there and nobody's feeling it out. And so for that reason, we're seeing this kind of fade occur across the market. So you say, well, what is happening with our volume? So here is the total volume that's on the XRPL token history, okay? And note, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 waves to the upside that we have here very clearly, okay? And then we have, so we have a 5-wave move to the upside, and then we do an inverted fib and look at where we are, the 786. So now we have a larger A leg, B leg, and C leg down. And the question will be, do we need to go a little bit lower for that 886 and just really shut the volume off and then everything starts returning? Or what do we have going on? But basically, volume is telling us that we're there. Now, if we throw this on log, a little bit better picture. We're coming down into this 618 region. So that might be where that little kind of final gap gets closed. And we would end up having this kind of final finishing move back testing on top of that region, and then we can go. So long video this Saturday. I appreciate it, but I just wanted to explain what the setup was and why we were doing the de-risking that we were doing, and how and what was the justification behind that. And ultimately, when we flip this upside down and we look at this at a shorter time frame, it does not look bullish, right? So if we flip this over and we invert this short term, you can see this beautiful bull flag that's bullish on this upside down chart where we break out for 5 waves, A, B, C, breakout, back test, higher low, and there's our bull flag getting ready to break to the upside, which we know is the downside. So hopefully that's helpful, and we'll check in tomorrow. Thanks so much for watching.